Welcome to another episode of Artsy AF.
Thanks for being here.
On this week's episode of the Artsy AF podcast, we have the one and only Stephen Kruse. Stephen is a painter, surprise, surprise, who makes really dope stuff, for lack of a better word. Stephen moved out to Colorado around 2013. We get into the amazing string of synchronicities that kind of led him out here, and even the string of synchronicities that led him to be a live artist. Mr. Kruse drops some knowledge about the balance between, say, painting for 24 hours straight and then sleeping for 12 hours. We also talk about having a job to support yourself while you're making art versus not, and so much more. So yeah, without any further blabbering from me, let's get this one started. Stephen Kruse, ladies and gentlemen. Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah.
Welcome to RTAF.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Stephen Kruse on this episode.
We're in his beautiful studio.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Glass is clinking.
Yeah.
You know it's legit.
They got a couple beers.
Got a beer.
Got a little
or
bourbon.
two. John has bourbon because he's allergic to beer.
So, Stephen, you've been busy. You're gearing up for a new art show.
I am, yeah. Working. I'm gonna have a show at Threda Gallery, and there isn't a exact date yet for it, but it'll be the month of March. So
Right on. Cool.
yeah,
Nice.
Everybody-
Springtime vibes.
Prepare
yeah,
yourself.
So melting, kind of everything warming up a little bit. So I'm hoping the show can warm some people up.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's such a good time to be diving in deep for an art show, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially during the winter. I'm pretty introverted, and I don't like being cold, so it like kind of helps me stay in the studio a bit. So
Yeah, dude. Yeah, we're just looking at all these like gradients, just prepping them up.
yeah, I've got
Looking super
about a
fire.
third of the show started, and about half of it like backgrounds and all that. So it's a lot of blank canvases, which is kind of like a little daunting to look at, but it's also motivational. I feel
Yeah.
like if I'm just surrounding myself with things I really need to, that I know I'm going to be working on soon, it's kind of like helping everything stew. And
All this like potential charged up space, like
yeah,
infinite opportunities surrounding you.
yeah, that's I think it's important. I think like where you do work is important. Like having a nice, like efficient workspace and a comfy
Definitely.
workspace, something like tailored to the specific artist is, I think, important.
Yeah. I think you have like the comfiest workspace of anybody's that I've been in.
Nice.
Cozy.
I'll take
It's
that as
very
a compliment.
clean.
Yeah.
It's cozy as fuck.
Yeah.
It's clean. Got
Yeah.
some nice lighting.
I feel like it's kind of helps me think. For me, sometimes I'll start painting, early in the day, but I don't actually pick up a brush until the sun's well and gone, because I'm got to get everything all situated and everything where it's supposed to be, so I know where it's at, and once everything is where it's at and everything's clean, and then there's nothing left to do but work. So
You like create order, get everything in order, so then you can dive into chaos. And
yeah, yeah, I learned that from my friend Jake. He sets himself up to make a mess, and I think that's important. Not just starting in a cluttered. I forget the exact statement, but cluttered mind, cluttered workspace, cluttered mind, something like that. But
Yeah. I've noticed
reflection.
too, like when I'm working, like there's such a gradient between my best work, my best focused work, and like just like piddling around
Totally.
and not doing it right. And I
Yeah.
think that workspace is definitely one of those things. But I also think like taking care of yourself in in a way is like another factor in that gradient of productivity.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What do you find is like the most, or I'm trying to phrase this in the right way, but what are some things that you do besides like getting your workspace clean and clear to like help you prep?
I think one of the most important things I do is I don't paint every single day. I kind of like in my mind I'm painting all the time. You know, it's like even if I'm out, you know, camping or in the grocery store, like wherever you go, like there's always like little things, and just it's a way of thought maybe. So I'm always working in that sense, but I kind of prepare myself to work long sessions by not working every single day. So I kind of like it's like a rest, like a mental rest day, and then also kind of like a physical rest day, and then getting back into it the next day, feeling like refreshed and ready to hit it again. So,
That's cool. So you're like in tune when you need to charge the batteries. You like,
most definitely, yeah. I think that's a big part about me. I take like I don't like going to sleep, and I don't like waking up. So it's
So if you can bypass that.
yeah. So like one big thing for me is I don't like going to sleep because, you know, you look down and it's 3 a.m, or, you know, even if the sun's coming up, you know, if I'm working and, you know, if I'm actually in that flow, it doesn't make really sense to cut off like a creative spark or a length of time that you've already worked and devoted towards something. Because for me, it takes so long to get in that mind state that, you know, it doesn't make sense. And as an artist, I think that's maybe part of the reason I landed here is that I get to set my own hours. I don't have to be anywhere at any specific time. You know, I kind of get to work, and I'm motivated enough myself to make that happen. So, yeah.
Yeah, you can just dive it.
Freedom of time. However the rhythm hits you, fucking ride with it and go with it. Yeah.
And then when I get tired, I just sleep for days. So, yeah. So I don't know. It could be a vicious cycle. Trying to balance. Like I have a girlfriend, and she's got a pretty normal schedule. So any given day of the week, I'm going to sleep as she's getting up, or, you know, sometimes we're right on schedule. But yeah, that's kind of a weird quirk about my workflow, I guess.
That's cool.
Have you always worked like that?
Not always. Since I've been able to work for myself, it's always been that way. But yeah, I remember working jobs and being like, oh shit, it's midnight. I have to be up at 7 to be at work at 8. And that's no fun.
Yeah.
So
Definitely not.
It's like a bummer because where you have to cut it off to wake up for your job is like 1 hour past that midnight is like where the real magic's going to happen. You have to stop that short, you know?
Totally. I'm nocturnal, most definitely. I feel like I get the most work and my best work done. I don't know if there's a specific hours, but it's definitely when the sun is down, a little bit later into the night, early morning too. And I've been thinking about it a lot. I feel like I just have a clearer headspace. Like I like everything's it's a little bit chiller. It's easier to navigate. I like working alone a lot. Like, you know, I'll get weird, like, you know, play weird music or no music, or, you know, or, you know, rolling around on the floor, putting you know, it's weird to create in front of other people sometimes.
Yeah.
So I enjoy being able to shut some doors and just kind of feeling alone, like it's me and the canvas, or me or what I'm working on. And I've been thinking also about like solids and liquids. And if you think about like something solid, it's tiny, tight packed molecules that are moving real quick, vibrating. And I feel like that's kind of like the daytime when the sun comes up, everything's heated up, everything's moving just a little faster. There's more people up, there's more thoughts, there's more just things bouncing around. And I feel like it can be really hard for, I don't know, this might be a personal thing, but just to sit down in the middle of the day and have these creative sparks and figure out all these problems I'm trying to solve. And I've thought, like, at night when the sun goes down, everything kind of cools down a little bit. Like the molecules aren't moving so fast. I feel like there's more space between things. It's a little slower. It's a little easier to navigate. And that might just be a thought, but that's definitely like a thought I've had.
I've experienced the same thing. Yeah,
I'm right there with you too.
It was just like the mental state of the whole world. Like everyone's humming during the daytime. That mental space is like clouded by all this activity.
It's great, like it being energized. Like the sun's great. I'm not like afraid of the sun. I'm not a vampire. I definitely enjoy. I find my most like creative breaks and best times for working are definitely at nighttime. So
yeah, I've had that thought too. Like everyone's asleep, or not everyone. Us, we're awake, but like a lot of people are asleep. So there's this kind of like, it's almost like you enter the realm of the dream.
Yeah.
Like, even if you're awake, like it's the nighttime. It's a little, you can't see as well without a lot of light.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of this cool place to explore with a lot of space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, diving fully into your creative path, doing it full time. It's like you truly become an outsider in so many ways. It's like you're not even up when other people are.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's crazy, but like through that disconnect from the status quo way of integrating with reality, you get to pull out these images that like make people feel alive. You're like chronicling the space that nobody's hanging out in,
Yeah, I feel that.
Cool.
I dig that actually a lot. I also feel like kind of like sometimes if other people, if the whole world's asleep and I'm working, I feel like I kind of got a one up on them.
Yeah,
like I'm getting
totally.
I'm getting it done when nobody else is. Everyone's resting. And,
yeah.
So
And that way too, like no one can be like, "Oh, you lazy artist." You're like, "Yeah, during the day."
Yeah, I'm chilling during the day. But.
You should see me at night.
So, how did you get started making art? Have you been doing it all your life, or?
Yeah, as long as I can remember, definitely. I think one of my first memories actually is my grandmother was a art teacher, and I remember going to like football games with her, like in the back of the car, and she would have like little notebooks, sketchbooks, and she'd give me like an animal and I would draw it real quick, I'd like little stick figure things. And so that was one of my first memories. And I remember enjoying that. Don't remember much more, but fast forward to kind of like high school, I would say, maybe even a little bit before that, like taking notes and stuff. I would always find myself in the margins, just kind of like drawing weird patterns. And I was always interested with, I remember like the girls would sign their notes with these like little connected hearts borders and like do all these cool little Celtic, and I just wanted to learn, how to do that. Remember the little S with the 3 dashes?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I remember seeing that, and my friend drew that. I was like, I got to learn how to draw that, little stars and all sorts of stuff. So.
I remember that, man. Like it's basically just a hexagon.
Yeah, totally.
With like a couple neato angles in there.
Once you crack the code of that bitch, you're just like all day.
It's like the definition of rad.
Yeah.
You can like put it on, like my name starts with an S, so we get it everywhere.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Peter.
But so it started there. Got a little more serious, like in high school, I'd say. Like took like drawing classes, and I never took a painting class actually all the way through college.
Nice.
I never happened to take one. I was in and out of the art school. Like by senior year of high school, I was like, didn't really leave the art wing of my building. But it was like ceramics and photo and metals and figure drawing and, but there was never a painting class. So it was always drawing for me. And I think my favorite thing was just to have a fresh black Sharpie and like a blank white page and just to tear that thing up. Like,
I have one of those originals, by the way.
Nice.
Just a little flex. I don't know. Sharpie original.
I still play with Sharpies all the time. I kind of makes me feel at home.
It's so much fun. Such a comfort zone.
And I think that actually kind of stems from my parents. When I was younger, I wasn't allowed to have the Sharpie. They like put it in the high drawer. I couldn't quite get to it. And I remember the smell of those things. And my dad like pulling out like the permanent marker to like do the permanent thing. And I was like, man, that's pretty cool. You can have like a little thing in your pocket that makes permanent marks. Like,
hell yeah.
So I think it stemmed from that, and then being able to just go out and get my hands on them, like these like unobtainable things as like a little kid. So yeah, I was scribbling all over everything.
Right on. Cool.
But yeah, the art thing started like a little bit later. The painting a lot later actually, and it was a pretty unique way. I feel like the way I got into it. I was going to I was living in Detroit at the time, and I was like the first time going to shows, and actually my first show I went and saw like Bass Nectar.
Right on.
And I just had no idea, like I don't remember exactly how old I was.
That's when it all changed.
Yeah, I remember my friend just pulled out his phone. He's like, "You want to go see Bass Nectar?" And I was like, "That sounds sick. Like, what's that?" And he like played on like one of those old shitty cell phones, those little flip phones, and played like a little thing. I was like, "That sounds dope." Like,
I remember the first time I heard Bass Nectar, it blew my mind.
yeah, I was like,
same.
"This is music." Like, what? I remember that. And the coolest part was like Bass Nectar was rowdy. So we went at the time. We were
What
like,
year was this?
It was like 2007, 8.
Seven?
Yeah. It was really early. I think we paid like $5-10 for a ticket. This was like back before this is way back.
Yeah.
And the coolest part was No Such Thing opened up for him. I don't know if you guys are fans, but he's
I
like
am
this
a
little
huge
Asian
fan.
dude. He just like gets real techie, and that was like, so I walked
Such
in to
beautiful
this
music.
thing, and like everything, the whole crowd was purple, and it was like, I hadn't really I'd been to like concerts, but like nothing like, I was like walking in this dark room, everything was purple, it smelled like drugs.
Hell yeah.
It was, I didn't know, and I just liked it instantly.
All your senses just like,
yeah, I was like, this is cool, and I'm meeting like people, and the music's like super dope, and but yeah, so that was the start of it, and so
Did you paint at that show?
No, there's so I actually went with a friend who was starting to throw shows of his own, and so there was a point that night where the drawings of mine kind of fused with his name was Scott, and Scott invited me to his show maybe the next weekend or something. He's like, "You should come and live paint." I was like, "I've never painted." He's like, "You should come and live paint." So I was like, "All right."
Shout out Scott.
Yeah, Scott Sutterfield. And so he was a triad of 3 people that started this thing called Cirque du Wamp.
Oh,
Yeah, so this was in Detroit.
They threw the blast off, right?
They did, yeah. We threw that was my first festival I ever went to.
Really?
I was part of
there.
the production, yeah.
That's
There was only like 300-400 people there.
It was
That's
great.
Pretty amazing.
It was a great festival.
Brought Tipper in 2010. Yeah, Ott, like No Such Thing,
It was
E-Prom.
dope.
Like,
Yeah.
It was pretty dope. And it was but anyway, so it was Angela Powell, Grant Jackson, and Scott Sutterfield started this Cirque du Wamp in Detroit. We're throwing like ballroom parties, and it evolved over about a year, and we were selling out. We were doing a monthly event. We were selling 3,000 tickets.
Wow.
And doing these highly immersive black light fire performing, like stage decor, like bringing in extra sound. Like it was just like the event in Detroit. It was like, it was what you wanted to be at. And it was always pretty sick. So my friend Scott invited me to paint. So I remember it was like the day of the show. I didn't know, like, so I checked my parents. I was living with my parents. I was really young. And they had some black acrylic paint. So I found that, an old house brush, and went out across the street. They were doing construction across the street. So I found this old white like board. It was just like an old recycled piece of wood, and took this to the show. So,
no shit.
Magic,
yeah, it was
dude.
pretty cool. Like they gave me a couple free drink tickets, let me bring a couple friends. Like I felt like a king at the time, like
I mean, yeah.
yeah. And yeah, so I set up in the back. It was cool. All my friends knew where to find me. Like I had something to do.
Yeah.
Like, I was still grooving with the music, still interacting with people, but I had a way to like put down what I was kind of like feeling. And I feel like the coolest part about all of it was at the very end of the night, I like packed everything up and just had this thing with me, and like I can still look back at that. This is like maybe 8 years ago now, and I can still like see what I did, and it brings me right back to like that night and like who I met. And
Damn, that was a moment at all.
yeah, it all
took
clicked. It was my first time eating MDMA too. So there's this
Nice.
like this connection between the music and like the space and the art and myself, and it was an amazing like first time and introduction into like something as broad as painting.
And that was like your first time painting too?
First time.
Isn't that so crazy? Like all these pieces align for this one night that launches what you do for the rest of your life.
Totally. I remember how happy I was, just like how good of a time I had, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's happens today, you know.
Oh yeah.
Go out and still get that same feeling. So
did you like? So then, were you hooked on live painting after that? Like, did you keep doing it?
Yeah, so it was pretty exclusive with this group. We were throwing like kind of like the more premier events in the entire state. But I remember like just that was like my into it. So I started seeing like there were all these little hubs in Michigan. There was like the Lansing crew and the Kalamazoo people and all the Detroit people. There's like Grand Rapids, and then there was like, you know, like the scruffy looking dudes up north, like throwing their little like
the Northmen.
Yeah, the North. But like
beyond the wall.
But it was really cool. So I started meeting all the other people in kind of every different little city, and you know, some shows were at like pizza parlors. You know, there'd be like 5-6 people would be eating pizza and like
sounds awesome.
But yeah, and then sometimes like, but yeah, like the home crew I had we were doing really like groundbreaking things.
Nice.
And bringing a lot of people together and introducing a lot of people to like music I still listen to today. I feel like we were kind of a little ahead of the curve, and I was super grateful to be to somehow fall into that.
Yeah.
So. I started going to festivals from there. Like I said, they circled up through this show called the Blast Off or festival. It was down in Ohio.
Ohio, yeah.
Yeah, at these caverns, and like that was pretty cool. I started going to DEMF, they call it Movement now. In Detroit. It's like Detroit's the birthplace of techno. Yeah. And so there's like this 3-day like in-city festival at Hart Plaza that they throw, and it's like, I don't know, 5, 6 stages. Like it's just like really sick. And there's after party. It's just a party the whole weekend. And started doing that, which led to Electric Forest, which led to like learning about all these nationwide events. And so it started real small, but it grew real quick. So
yeah,
that's awesome.
That's cool that like your first painting experience was a live painting experience.
Yeah, totally.
Some ballsy shit.
Yeah.
Were you like nervous about that?
I never really even thought about it too much, to be honest.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Like you were almost young enough and naive enough to not even give a fuck.
100%. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I get nervous now, you know? Like after all that, now I get nervous. Yeah.
It's a cool dichotomy from, you know, like being in the studio 3 a.m. when you can hear crickets having a conversation, to like being out in a field in the summer at midnight with 40 to 50 people gathered around your easel or your wall or whatever it is. And
it can be like rather surreal.
Yeah, it's weird, right? I mean, it's almost like we live in these two worlds as people who paint or performance paint, you know, as a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's like you meet a lot of great friends that way.
Totally. I think it's exponential a little bit. Like actually going out to these events, and like I see it like pretty like directly as putting a light over yourself.
Yeah. Oh,
you're like, hey,
not even metaphorically.
To me. Yeah, like literally, physically, and metaphorically, in every sense of the thing. We put a light over ourselves, and we're kind of like beacons. And we do the traveling that a lot of people don't. Right. You know. And so I think it's exponential, like you said, meeting people. Like it's you meet the right people all over the place. So
yeah,
and that's an interesting thing too, right? Like being so introverted, but then like continually facing the discomfort of like, all right, I'm gonna be Mr. Social tonight, and I'm gonna pretend I know like what's going on, and like come talk to me. Like we like in a way force ourselves into that situation, even though I'd rather just be in my studio all the time, never talk to anybody. But then like, I don't know.
It's not a sustainable way to live, really.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Kind of forcing yourself to come out. And it's funny, like you would think like when you're out in those chaotic environments that like the work really wouldn't be, you know, on par with like when you have the studio that you've set up for, you know, been building your whole life.
Right.
Like, and you got, you know, you have all the tools you need, and it's comfy. And then, but I found sometimes when you go out and those crazy, you don't even have the right colors, you're using somebody else's brush on like, you know, like spilling beer, like other people bumping into your stuff. But I find sometimes like you can get some pretty good work done.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
when you're out
interesting.
and you have to work, you know,
Yeah.
you can't go out and just sit there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it kind of forces you to get after it.
And
So.
you're picking up on the vibe of that crowd too. Like everyone's in a elevated, loving, friendly state.
most of the time.
You're picking up on that. Yeah, most of the time.
Most of the time.
But yeah, you can surprise yourself. I mean, it's interesting how creativity can show up in any situation, really.
Totally.
Yeah, it's cool what happens when you kind of shrink the framework of what you have to work with, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you were saying, like, oh, maybe I forgot all my brushes or whatever, which is kind of like something we probably used to do a lot more and we don't do so much anymore. But it puts you in this state where you're like, well, I have to improvise, and you kind of get back to this like beginner's luck stage, maybe,
Totally,
or like this beginner. You're like, well, you know, like whatever, cadmium red, sure, I'll fuck with that because I have no other choice.
Right.
Well, that's what's so cool about creativity is like any tool you have, you can make something cool with it.
Exactly.
And it's like putting in just time into art. At a certain point, it's like, hand me anything, I can make something like
Exactly.
kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or at least attempt to.
Yeah.
At least give these people a show on top of the show that they're already at.
So like among your journey, what brought you out to Denver then?
Man, it's kind of a long story. I'll try to tell it real quick. I had some like best friends that I've grown up with my whole life, and they decided to do this ridiculous trip. They decided to bicycle from Michigan. They were going to bicycle to the Pacific Ocean. So they started. This is just like a thought we had one day. We're just sitting there, and they're like, "Yeah, we should do it." And there were four of us. We're all kind of like, "All right." I backed out real quick as soon as they like went out and bought bikes and like actually started training. I was like, nah, I don't think so. And but they actually stayed after it. So for a couple months in the summer, like leading up to the summer, they like trained. They would just ride bikes from like one person's house to the next, and you know it'd be like a 30-mile trip, and so they just do that. And yeah, there was a day where we all met on Lake Michigan. And we all camped and had an awesome night. And in the morning, I like packed up all my stuff and drove home. And they packed up into backpacks and just jumped on their road bikes and just took off.
Damn.
And so it took them. They didn't quite get to the Pacific Ocean. They did eventually. They got to Utah. But from Denver, it was about 2 months. And between the three of them, just for weight, they only had like one cell phone. And they left it off most of the time. So I didn't hear from them for like 2 months. So these are my best buddies. And,
shouts.
So finally, my Mark Albright, Kieran Fisher, they're best buddies. So for it's a couple months of not hearing from them. Finally, my phone rings one day, and you know it's Mark. So I answer it. He's like, "Hey man, we're in Denver. Like you have to come out here. Like this place is for you." And so we talked for a little bit. Side story, like pretty cool. So they're riding up into the mountains, like I-70, like going. So they make it to Georgetown and they pull off. They decide they're gonna crash for the night. They find this beautiful campsite like right off the highway, and they go to sleep. They wake up the next morning with fences built around them. And there's a semi truck pulling in the stage, and they're like they ask like some people. There's they go to sleep in a completely empty field, wake up with like a hustle bustle of like festy kids around them. Whoa! And they're like, "What's going on?" They're like, "Welcome to Sonic Bloom, man." So they rode their bikes into Bloom.
That's
met
written
a bunch
in the stars,
of people.
man. That's crazy.
Totally. Yeah.
I wonder if I met them then.
I mean,
do you know what year it was? 2000.
This would be 2000. Yeah, somewhere in there. 13 maybe.
13.
I'm not sure. I'd have to ask them, but yeah, it was I think the last year they had it at Georgetown.
I was there.
But yeah, so they met a bunch of people, all the right people, and so the call they gave me was immediately after that. They're like, "Bro, you gotta come out here." So hung up the phone, and that night I went to same old shit, house party, and I was going to Western Michigan, taking art classes, just living in the same house I'd lived in for a couple of years, and we're at this party, I don't know whose house it was, but the girl who owned it, I remember this like really clearly. She's all hammered, you know, like toasty, and she's like screaming like, I'm moving to Denver in 2 weeks, like who's with me, who's going with me? And I remember I had like a fifth in one hand, a drink in the other. I was like, I'll go. Yeah, not like being serious at all, just be like, let's do it, you know. And ended up just going to sleep and waking up to a phone call the next day, and it was actually the girl. Her name was Sarah. She somehow got my number, and she was like, hey, like, and you remember like saying you're gonna go with me? And I was like, what? And I like kind of looked around for a second, same old bedroom I've been in, like doing the same old shit, and something in me, it was just like, I was like, yeah, you know what, I'll go. And she's like, cool. Like, she didn't know me, and she hung up, and like she didn't know I was like changing my whole life like right there. And so ended up dropping out of school, packed up all my stuff. She had I didn't have a car at the time, so she had a Ford Focus. We bought an 8-foot trailer, 8-foot U-Haul for this little tiny 2-door Focus. And I packed up all my stuff. I had maybe like 3-4 backpacks, like a couple skateboards, like my longboard, my skateboard, which were like trusty at the time. I had a bicycle so I could get around, and I had some canvases. And so we drove out, and I knew 2 people in Colorado. And so Mark, at the same time, who had been on that bike ride, he rode all the way across the Continental Divide. He got to like about Salt Lake City, and his friend, who was doing the same thing but just in a car, a little easier, happened to be in the same spot. Like they met up.
Oh, cool.
And
so
my buddy Adam
from Michigan.
Yeah, my buddy Adam was like, hey, like instead of riding the bikes, you want to just hop in the car and ride with me, and then we can do the 101, and like gave them all these like easy, like beautiful things to do. And they're like, you know what, like that sounds pretty good. So they strapped the bikes to the back of the car and ended up doing this whole thing, going like from I think Washington to like the whole 101. Yeah. And so he was on the way back from that the same time I packed up all my stuff and was headed out to Denver. So we actually met. I got dropped off in a parking lot. At Federal and Irving, like Colfax and Federal, pretty much. Yeah. There was these apartments buildings there, and I knew 2 people at the time. So I like got their address and got dropped off in the parking lot. And the girl who was driving me, Sarah, she was actually going on to Steamboat. She was like moving to Steamboat.
Oh, okay.
So she just dropped me off. Said like, you know, like thanks for coming out with me. And I was like, wow,
that's some shit, son.
So yeah, I had all my stuff. The best part was like I get all my stuff out, like say bye to her, and the sprinklers turn on. I just start soaking all my shit. I'm like, whoa. No. And so I call my buddies who the apartment of the place I got dropped off at, and I was like, hey, like I finally made it. Like, you mind if I like, I have a little bit of stuff. Like, you mind if I just crash at your spot tonight? I don't really have too many plans. I'm just got here trying to figure it out.
I have no plans.
And they're actually like, no, dude. Like, it's Sound Tribe weekend. We got 12 people staying at our single bedroom apartment. Like, literally, we can't, like, you wouldn't fit. Like, so they ended up taking a couple of my backpacks and my stuff. And for the next couple of weeks, me and Mark, who like met me in that parking lot.
Yeah.
And like, thank God he did. Like, I jumped in his buddy's car and we like, I think we went bowling or something. I don't know what we did. I had no plan. And it was kind of hitting me that I really had no idea what I was doing. And so it was like 2 weeks of me and Mark going out to bars, like in Lodo, like off those shitty bars, like downtown, like Blake Street. And just trying to, the whole goal of the night was just to meet somebody who would let us crash on their floor. So... And then, so we would do that. Like, I slept on a massage table one night, like lots of floors. And I'm still friends with a lot of these people, which is kind of cool. But yeah, in the morning we'd wake up, ride our bikes to the library and hop on their computers and just look for a Craigslist job for the day. Go ride our bikes to that. And then like ride our bikes to the bar to go find somewhere to sleep. Like, it was just crazy for a couple of weeks. But yeah, that was the start of like my whole Denver trip.
It seems like that's like a...
I gotta take a breath.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. It's like a reoccurring theme in your life is like you kind of just like, what do you feel whenever you do this crazy shit? Like you just, you know, like You just go into like, oh, I've never painted before. All right, I'll live paint. Okay, I'll go to Denver. Like, what the fuck is going on in there?
Yeah, when I think back, it's like a lot of not thinking.
Yeah,
you know,
just
kind of
feeling,
like,
or
just going with the
Intuition,
flow. Yeah, like there were moments like on that drive out where I just knew I was doing the right thing, and there was really nothing to worry about.
Right.
And you know, it doesn't always happen like that, but it's. I mean, I felt the same way about my first painting. I feel like it was like I feel like I know what I'm doing. Like, you know, it's like kind of I don't know, not thinking. So
yeah,
it's kind of flowing.
What do you think that is? Like, is it just flow? Is it just confidence, or did you have to cultivate, I guess, that mind state to be like, everything's gonna work out. This is gonna be good.
Well, it's like asking, like, were you always an artist, or you know, it's
right,
like, I don't quite know, to be honest.
It's an interesting place.
It seems like a fun way to live through life. You know, I think I do, and a lot of people I know overthink every decision they make.
Totally.
Instead,
I overthink
it's like,
most of them. I think.
Yeah.
You just have a few grand impulses of like, okay, yeah.
Well, I think there's a thing too about when I moved to Denver, at least, I was like, I have nothing to lose. I mean, you know, my hometown is cool, whatever, whatever. Yeah. But like, it's the same, like, kind of like 30-pack of Natty Light every weekend thing, and it's like, this is getting a little old, maybe. Yeah. It's like, I know that there's an adventure out there. To be had. And
for me, that was Denver. Like, before you moved here, were you creating?
A little bit. I had been painting for 8 months. Yeah. I mean, and before that, I was like in a band or whatever. And if people have listened to the podcast episodes, they've heard me yak on about that. But yeah, I mean, I had started making like little drawings and stuff, and then painting, you know, 8 months before leaving. Okay. And it was just like, me and John were just like, dude, we gotta get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. You guys grew up together?
No. Laboon.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. So many Johns.
Jakes and.
Yeah. But yeah, it's hard to speak to that because I think there's something about everyone who has a creative spirit that tugs at their sleeve constantly. I think you should at least travel outside of your hometown
100%
for an extended period of time. If not, just move somewhere else.
Just see what's going on in other places.
And I think it's good too, though, to like start your whatever it is, art, music, writing, dancing, whatever it is, in the place that you grew up in, just to kind of feel it out. Like maybe you'll blossom there and you'll be this hub and people will love you. Like say if you grew up in a place like Austin or, you know, Nashville even now, like you can make shit work. But I don't know if Detroit and Michigan was like this, but I think it's probably a little more cultured than Kentucky is.
A little bit.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's something going on.
I've been to Lexington. So.
Yeah, I know. That's where we actually met, I think.
Way back in the day.
Yeah. Was that another Cirque du Womp show? Or was that like a collab thing?
It was pretty much a collaborative thing. I was a friend of the people that we worked with. Yeah. So I feel like it spreads that way. The reason I asked if you created before you moved to Denver was, for me, like when I started like painting in Michigan, like I would see all these amazing painters and artists, and even the music, like the venues, like seeing Red Rocks, like everything I saw that I was like, that's what's up, like, and I have the little tag like in Denver, Colorado, and so it was either there or the Bay at the time. And I feel like there were these kind of like these two, like Austin's kind of popping right now too, like and it shifts, like, but at the time it was really like the Bay and mostly Denver. Like everything I was seeing, everything I was interested in was coming out of those couple spots. So I remember like moving there I wasn't too worried because I know I was going to bump into these people eventually. And
Yeah.
our paths were going to cross, and yeah, so that was
Totally.
that was like definitely a draw to move out here.
It's
to be
weird.
surrounded by creatives.
Yeah, like it's interesting how the type of being that this area is drawing in and how potent the energy is here. It was cool, like, you know, somebody like you was ballsy as fuck and saw something was going on. You know, like, I was always a fan of your art, you know, like always digging what you were doing. And I'm like, oh, well, Steven's in Denver. And then, you know, like Randall and Morgan, some of my favorite artists, they were here. And I was like, and the energy of your creativity is something I really resonated with. And it's like, I don't know, it's interesting, right? How we all bring these different flavors, but there's this like, there's like an overlapping sense of like love
Most
that's
definitely.
that's resonating out of the artwork here, which I think is
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the community here is unmatched, like worldwide.
Absolutely.
Maybe
Yeah.
even time-wise, like
Yeah.
worldwide. Like
Yeah.
there's something really, really special happening, like right now, right here. So
It's strange, right? It's
Yeah.
it's
like
very strange.
Randall talks a lot about like the Impressionists, right? And they were a group of homies that were outsiders in the art scene banding together and creating a movement.
Yeah.
And every once in a while you're like, is that what
Is that
is
what's
that
going on
is that
now?
like is that happening? Is this like I don't know.
Well, you
it's
know, the
strange.
idea about like time and history being more like a spiral than a straight line.
Yeah, you keep coming back to it. To
Yeah,
itself,
I feel like maybe we're on the same. Like, if you think of a spiral, I'll try and word this visually. If you think of a spiral spiraling out, and then it has a bunch of lines like a clock on that spiral, maybe we're on the same line but on a different edge of the spiral as something like the Impressionist movement or the Renaissance
Yeah.
or the first cave paintings or some shit
Yeah,
like
that
that.
That
I
makes
don't know.
sense.
Can you
Yeah.
imagine being the first guy painting on a cave? Your
You wouldn't even
buddy's
know
like,
you-
what the fuck are you doing, dude?
He's like, shut up.
He's like, look at this. It kind of looks like a buffalo.
This
And
looks
the other
like
guy's
that.
like, it kind of does look like a buffalo.
High as fuck on mushrooms,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like under fucking torchlight.
Torchlights,
Whoa.
yeah. It's like, whoa, man, this is trippy.
And people are
They
coming
don't even
up
have
to
a
you
word for
being
trippy
like, what's your inspiration?
yeah. Did you paint this all tonight?
I bet you like those homies that did those cave paintings, if they're here today, they would probably you'd probably be homies with them. They're probably
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
They're like
Yeah.
align.
My cave brethren.
Yeah.
Painting brethren. Yeah.
So I think it's cool, like, you know, you did that journey of like that first live painting, and then it brought you out here, and now you're doing like murals on the side of buildings. Like, when was your first mural you did?
Man, so what constitutes a mural? Because I painted on walls, you know. I'd be spawning painting on walls back in Michigan, like my bedroom walls, other friends' bedrooms, doors, you know. I painted like a 70-foot by 5-foot mural in Michigan. That was my first one.
Damn.
There's this basement venue in Kalamazoo. I think it's been either knocked down or renamed, but it used to be Shakespeare's Globe Theater.
Nice.
And my friends would throw shows there, and after live painting at a bunch of these shows, I asked, instead of just bringing, you know, like I used to paint on wood, these like door size things. I used to sell them for $100 at the end of the night. Like, that was my spiel. But there was a point where I was looking at the walls and they were all just blank. And I was like, why am I painting on, like, you know, these walls I bring in pretty much?
Right.
Like, why don't I just like paint on the wall? And they were like, why don't you? So I started that, and that was like a couple months of just like tic-tacking around from different shows and working here and there. And that was my first time actually leaving something like permanent. But yeah, I think like my first official mural was in Denver. I did it. There's like it's still up at 13th and Spear. It should be like a permanent.
Such an epic one.
It's a good one. And it's my first time translating, like once I had a distinct style, trying to translate it to like a larger area, surface area. And I did all right. And it kind of, it like let me know I could do that. And so it's been, I've been looking for jobs ever since and trying to push like this thing I got going bigger and badder and all the better things.
Like, how do you tackle that? Like, if you have symmetry on a gigantic wall, are you like projecting? Are you measuring, or
it's a lot of like if you can do it at the macro, you can do it at the micro. It's all the same thing. Everything's fractal. It all spirals in and out. And so just practicing. I've been painting symmetrical and actually drawing symmetrical since I can remember, like drawing. My parents have some of my first drawings. They're little symmetrical like doodles. And so after I'm just turned 30. So after about, I don't know, 25 years of doing something,
it's locked in.
Yeah, it's pretty locked in, whether you're doing it at any scale with any medium. And it's like a comfort zone that I know I can push in every single spot I'm in. So, yeah. So,
yeah.
Like, do you feel like a sense of purpose, or do you have like a specific mission of why you're creating?
It's a good question. Well, I don't know what I would be doing if I wasn't creating.
Yeah.
I don't even like know how to think that way. But yeah, I think my mission is, I'm pretty happy every day. Like, so it's not only for my self happiness, but it's the thing that makes me the most happy is inspiring others. And so I think the reason I go out, because we're in my studio now, it's like pretty nice. I got all my paint like organized, like I got everything I need here. But if I can go out and like inspire somebody else to start creating, or maybe to think differently, or and maybe not even painting, maybe just to be more creative in their daily life, or think a little bit differently, think outside the box. That's pretty much the mission.
Yeah.
I feel pretty blessed to like have friends such as yourselves who like we get to share, like we get to talk about form and color, and like I might not see you guys every day, but I see what you're doing every day, and it's like I see more about your lives than I do like an old coworker who's like and like everyone's free to do whatever they want, but I think it's really special that we get to live and communicate the way we do. And interact the way we do. So if I can like inspire anyone to do that, or it's pretty broad, but
no,
that's
like
pretty
broad,
much the mission. Yeah,
broad is great, and it's like everything you create that's encoded in everything you create. And even talking on this podcast, it's like the way you've lived your life. That impulse to just that creative impulse in a way to like do that first live painting, or just drop everything and move to Denver.
Yeah.
Somebody out there, you listening.
Yeah, someone's
gonna get a hit of that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just finding your own flow of like what you enjoy doing in life, and that like you really can live a life that you enjoy.
Totally.
And
everyone knows what they like, and it's, I think the secret is just finding that shortcut to like making that like profitable and obtainable every day. And I was blessed to just be in the right place, right time, like a million times over. Where that this is like where I work right now, and that's what I do. So I feel blessed.
I'm just thinking about people listening. How do you make an art career possible? It's such a
it's different for everybody.
It's such a hard thing to navigate, I think, for a lot of people.
I get lots of messages, people just like chiming in, asking questions, and I try to be real responsive with people. I want people to know I'm just a person. I think it's cool when I go out and like people are like, oh, you're Steven. I'm like, what's good? Like, yo,
this like weird wizard.
But I used to think the same thing. Like you were talking about Randall earlier. I remember he was just like this mythical being. I was like, he's just like,
I was so intimidated.
Like,
I thought he was like,
like the best homie. Yeah, he's the best dude.
I know.
But where are we going?
How do you make a living off of art? I think, or just
a lot of people hit me up about like this or that, but I think the thing that most people hit me up about is like, hey, like I'm trying to take my art game. They've got something started, they've got these ideas, and they're trying to take it to the next level in one way or another. That's like I think the question I get asked the most about, and I respond to all these people, but it's not the greatest response. Like I really tell them I have no idea.
Just keep doing it.
I tell them work hard and be passionate. And if you do those two things, like it might happen tomorrow, it might happen a year from now, but you'll meet the right person, or you'll be at the right spot, and something will click, you know. But yeah, I tell people, work hard, be passionate, and that's about, you know, all you can do.
That really is it. Because we're all unique personalities, right? That will come in contact with different people. But if you are just putting all of your life energy into your creativity as much as you can,
people are bound to support.
Be a
that.
nice person. Something in some unique way is going to come towards you. And there's 100%. No way, like, you can't just say, like, yeah, talk to this guy or go to this gallery. It doesn't work like that.
All right, you're going to put this color next to this color. And there's no, like, formula for it. And everybody's like, going back to Randall, I remember the first time I met him, one of the first things he said to me is like, do you want to be famous? Like, being all philosophical and like being awesome. And that stuck with me. I'm like, man, like, what is this all about? Like, am I trying to, and I figured it out, like, along the ways, but yeah, I think if you're trying to be an artist, the goal is just to be sustainable off of your art. And to be able to create more art. That's like pretty much all I want to do. I want to be comfy. I want to like eat dank food and like create and have enough money for the next canvas, or if I want to do a big project, to be able to do this or that and to have it funded. And I think the only two things I can really tell people for sure is be passionate and work really hard.
That's all it takes, really. Watch the world show up.
Put yourself out there.
It will. I promise you.
If you really pursue what you love, you'll be surprised at what happens. You know, and you couldn't have planned that shit.
Totally.
Right.
I had no plan.
Right.
And it's great to have a plan. My parents are planners. They're big. They're like, they had my life set out for me. Like, before I was even born.
So they drew up the plans for you to move to Denver.
Be a trippy artist.
I fucked those plans up. But you don't need a plan. You don't need to have. You just need to know within yourself that it's going to happen. And I've had a few friends, actually a number of friends. I'm tallying them up because it makes me so happy. But I've had people call me, like friends from out of town, and they're like, "Hey man, like I'm struggling a little bit, like trying to do the art thing," and they're like, "I'm thinking about moving to Denver, thinking about moving to the Bay. Also, like, I'm thinking about making a big change." And I'm always like, "Do it, 100%.
Do it,
do it." And I said I got this tally mark. I got them in my head, but there are all these friends that have done it. They moved, and I told them the two things. I'm like, work hard, be passionate. And they're all crushing now.
Hell
so
yeah!
I keep tabs on all those.
What's that thing?
I got,
Right,
like little folders. I got folders for everybody. Like you might not even know it. I probably know your art. I'm probably I got a file.
That's that whole thing, right? Like if you're thinking about doing something, and then your heart already knows you have to do it, and then you're just thinking about it like, should I, shouldn't I, should I? But like if you're already debating that in your mind, it's like you might as well just fucking go for it and see what happens.
Totally.
I think a lot of it too is just knowing yourself and knowing your strengths and your weaknesses, and just working on your weaknesses but also playing into your strengths. Like if you're a person like you, Steven, who likes to who can just push it and build all this momentum when the world is sleeping, or when you're going out for your first live painting gig, just like fearless. If you know your like strengths of confidence, fearlessness, whatever they may be something else for someone else. Maybe you're the most practical artist in the world. And you're like, ooh, I'm going to draw this whole painting out before I paint it. Do it.
Yeah.
Like there's no right or wrong way. It's the right way is just knowing yourself and just being yourself fully.
And don't be afraid of that.
Appreciate that. Trying to be somebody else, like they already got you the whole time. Like there's no chance you're gonna catch up. It's like the Federal Reserve note. You're never gonna catch up, man. They already got you. Like, so just be yourself, do what you do. And I feel like if you have like you see a little path forming, like you gotta drive down it, bushwhack that thing. You gotta get down there.
Oh yeah.
And people will support and see you through all of it. And when it comes down to it, I think when people are supporting art, they're not really like supporting that like specific thing you're working on. You're kind of supporting you. Like,
Exactly.
You know, your art is a reflection of yourself.
Yeah.
And I think it comes from one of two places. It's like a very, very like internal thing. Like you're seeing what you can create. You're trying to put your feelings down. You're trying to make sense of something. It's very personal. And the other side of it is like it's an ego thing. Like look what I can do. Like check it out. And you know, everyone talks down about ego, but I think there's a place for it in art. You know,
totally,
because you have to be yourself.
You have to integrate that stuff. You know,
most definitely. And so yeah, I'm jumping around on a bunch of different topics, but I think everything in life, everything in your art, everything like in your personal journey is about balance. And trying to find the balance between all those things is gonna set you up for success.
The middle way. It's always the middle way. It's always right in between.
Yeah. What influences you outside of other painters? Do you got any movies, books, writers, cooks?
Yeah, all those things.
Yeah.
I've been jumping on my skateboard again recently.
Oh hell yeah!
And that's a little different than a writer or like movies, but I think it's like an incredibly awesome flow sport, flow state, flow thing.
Oh yeah!
I'm just trying to flow. So yeah, I've been jumping on my skateboard. I snowboard a lot.
Nice.
Yeah, I like hiking, climbing, running around, camping. I cook a lot, actually. You said cooking.
Yeah.
I've been cooking more, but yeah, I think I have like my main thing. Like I would say painting is like not only like my vocation, it's like kind of my everything, but I also have like I make jewelry. Like I have all these little like side things that like add on, and they give me breaks from like so I don't go insane.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I think that's important to have like a few different like outputs, and just keeping everything fresh. I think that's important.
And everything starts like melding into each other too. You know, it's like you're just following. You're just doing whatever you want to do. You know, it's like, okay, I want to spend some time in nature. Fills up my batteries. Get to use my body. Feel really good. Then you come back to your studio and you're so refreshed. It's just this like continuation of energy, you know?
Yeah. Isn't it nice?
It's so nice.
So nice.
I feel like it's the first time in like history. It's the easiest time to be a creator.
Yeah. I agree.
Like I always think about like Renaissance period, or like even like when you were talking about the Impressionists and all that.
Yeah.
Like just thinking about like how difficult it would be to get a canvas.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Or
you'd
like,
have to wait probably for a while.
Yeah, you gotta know somebody with the sheep and like and then you gotta do I don't even know like make fabric, and then
Someone's
like,
hand sewing some shit.
You want to paint, so you need paint. And you're like, okay,
crush
so you
up
go
minerals.
found colors out in nature and crush them up and mix them with oils, and it's like holy shit. It's like so much when you start to think about it. It's so much work, like just to actually make that happen, and then to live off of that back then. Like there was no internet, there was no pictures, there was no cameras, there was no. So like if you were creating something, let's say you're in like Italy, you're down on the boardwalk, like that's the only time people are actually gonna like see what you're doing. You actually had to like see it. And I think about the people that like saw the Mona Lisa, way back, and they were like go home and they're like, yo, like mom, I saw this like thing. It was just, and they're like telling it, they're like, you have to see it.
Yeah.
But like literally you do have to see it. Like you can't. So I think this is the first time like in history I can jump in my car, drive down the street to like, it's like 5 minutes down the street. I got a Michael's and a Hobby Lobby and a Guyries, and we got Meininger, we got some nice art stores, we got shitty art stores, we got the big corporation like arts, but I can go and get a canvas. You can get $5, you can like spend $10 at a place and like 10 minutes after thinking I want to paint, you can have all the materials to do so.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's the first time in history that people like are able to paint what they want as well.
Yeah.
Totally.
And so I think you're talking about maybe people looking back and like having a name for like this, what's happening here.
Yeah, yeah.
And I wonder what they'll call it. That's
Yeah,
like
I
the
wonder
number one
too.
thing. I hope it's not the visionary movement.
Yeah.
It's beyond. I like how everybody doesn't like that term
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it's like it seems
All
too
that's visionary.
lofty.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like auditory music or something.
Yeah. There you go.
Well, I mean, and I know what people mean by visionary because they've called like great minds visionaries, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You think of like, I don't know, Martin Luther King or Buckminster Fuller or some other example I can't think of right now. And those people were visionaries.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I get what they mean, but it's, I don't know.
But like everybody's a visionary, really.
Yeah, like,
All
do you
that's
have an-
visionary.
do you have a-
You've got
it's
a
like,
vision.
Do you,
Yeah.
do you have an idea of a better future and you work towards it? All right, you're a visionary.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Exactly.
Right. But yeah, so I think it's the first time, like, you know, you can go out and anyone can paint. So there's all these like
Sure.
crazy things happening. There's like crazy colors and just shapes and forms and ideas, and everything's inside out and right side in and backwards and inverted. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's an exciting time to be a creator.
It seems like in this time, you can literally do whatever you want. And if you do it all the time and find excellence in that thing, you can crush it.
Yeah,
Just like do that shit that you're feeling you want to do.
definitely.
You'll be all right.
I'll grab another one.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm going to pause it.
Take 5.
Take 5. Take 5. Talk instead of paint. It's, I feel like it's easier for creative people to just kind of talk about creativity than maybe, you know, if we got somebody from...
I want to talk about the weather. I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't care about your, you know.
Right.
I don't care. I want to see what you're making.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thing.
But we just re-upped on beers and
We just took a little
bourbon.
break.
Yeah.
But we were just talking in the kitchen, like it's so easy to forget those weird spots where you were.
Totally.
And like you find yourself in like, you know, a pretty comfortable spot now. Whereas like you're still challenging yourself. But
Yeah.
like there's so many people out there, I'm sure tons listening, that are right now in those weird spots in like those tiny apartments with too many people, and it all seems kind of strange, but something's happening.
Yeah, I mean, there was like, I don't know, 3 or 4 houses I had before this where I was like, the best place to paint was sitting on the side of my bed in my tiny little bedroom, like, because I go out and there's like, I remember one house we had like 3 puppies all new at the same time, and we had like 100 square feet to share, and I was, you know, but I was still painting there, you know, sitting on the floor and doing what I can. I remember going out to like established artists, and they had like a studio, maybe
Yeah.
like like attached garage. I remember your garage. Remember
That garage was nice.
Dude, that was
It
really
was
nice back in
uninsulated,
the
but it
day.
was really dope.
But it was
I
like
gotta say.
it was one of my first times seeing like because you were a painter. I went to your house and you had a place that you painted. You know, it was like
I was lucky,
cool.
man.
Yeah.
My story was not as epic as yours. We got pretty lucky. I mean, I transferred out here with like Whole Foods, so I had a little job.
You had a job
too.
before, yeah.
And I've probably said this before on the podcast, but like artists, don't quit your day job until like you're making, I don't know, X amount of dollars per week on art sales, because it can actually stifle you.
Totally.
That's a fine line to find.
If you have to, like, I know C.T. Nelson. He's,
Yeah.
like, one of the most successful, amazing, like, creates the most beautiful
Just the
paintings.
king.
Like,
He's
he
the
is the
king.
king. And he's still working a job.
Yep.
Because he doesn't, and the reason I brought that up, he doesn't want his art to dictate, like, he doesn't want to have to rely on it for his financials.
Right.
He
Yeah.
thinks it will change the way he paints.
Yeah, I
So,
think
like,
it does.
And I think it does as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's so awesome. Like, I work jobs.
Yeah.
I was like, my last job, I was delivering cheesesteaks to hungry Denverites. I worked that job for like a year and a half, 2 years, you
Yeah.
know, and It was my good friend Molly Gardner came in one time like 7 a.m. after a crazy paint session, and she had like 8 bottles of champagne. She was like, "Steven, you are not going to work. You're calling that
I
in."
remember when you quit that job.
Yeah, she's like, "You're calling in or you're quitting." And I was like, "No, I can't." And she's like, "You're doing the art thing." And I was like, "All right,
yeah.
I'm doing it."
Hell yeah, Molly.
Drink champagne.
Yeah, I mean,
But yeah,
you know,
you gotta like, be reasonable.
yeah.
And work really hard if it's what you're passionate about like work your day job and
Fuck
save
yeah.
money and create in your free time. You
Yeah.
know?
I mean, that's what I did. I've had a full-time job,
cool.
and this is my last week.
Nice.
This week.
I'll give
Yeah.
you a little
Well, 5 good ones
Yeah.
right there.
Thanks, brother.
hell yeah.
It's so freeing, because you talk about like painting all night, like you have freedom of time, and I started feeling like you work up to a certain point, right, where you're like, oh, what I'm creating is, and then this job that I have is actually holding me back from this potentiality that I feel,
That's
And-
the time, yeah.
and then it's time to drop it because you're
Yeah.
like, dude, I got infinite creativity in me, and I have to go to bed at 11 so I can get up to make a phone call.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like,
Right.
oh, okay.
So
Well,
like mixed signals there, but just feel it out.
Yeah.
Like quit your day job if you want to. I mean, I've quit 3 jobs since I've been here,
Mhm.
since I've been in Denver.
That's
And
one thing I noticed when I first moved here. Like everybody I met was like, "Don't get too hung up on something, because like another opportunity will pop up." And I remember
Yeah.
I had like 8 or 9 jobs, like just real
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah.
Something better.
Yeah.
And it just takes a little bit of time.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's that balance again, like you were talking about, like balance. Like if you need money to survive and your art isn't selling, get a job.
Yeah, fucking get a
Don't-
job,
don't-
There's nothing
Don't
worse
be-
than
like, we're-
whiny,
Yeah.
like, why
Dude-
am I?
dude. Starving artist isn't interesting or cool at all.
No,
No,
like we're
no.
done with that, guys. It's
Yeah.
2020
Or moving on to
pretty
thriving
much.
artists. We're all thriving.
We're thriving artists here, guys. Like in whatever way possible. Like just make dope shit, and if it's not selling, get a job. But if it is, fucking quit. Who cares?
Yeah, there's always more opportunity.
Exactly. Yeah.
I know this might be a silly question, and I'm sure you get it a lot when you live
There's no
paint
silly
and stuff.
questions.
But
I
like,
can think of some actually.
so like I'm sure everybody listening is familiar with Steven's work, or else if you're not, go look
Check
it
it out.
up. Like, how would you describe what you're painting? Like, what is that? It's like hoo-ah, hoo-ah.
Yeah, a little bit of kung fu action.
Yeah.
No, like I think it's kind of like it's like organized chaos. I
Mhm.
feel like I think what I try to do. A lot of my work is very it's like synesthesia, and it's like auditory. And it's kind of all the same thing. Like when I made jewelry, a lot of the same. Like it's all kind of like the same thing. And I'm trying to evoke like an emotion or a feeling, and take you to a place where like it's a good place, like like a pimping spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like when I started painting, especially like some of my flow stuff. I like wait till I'm feeling really good. I wait till the music's good. Like that's why I still enjoy going out to festivals, because like the energy is so high. Everyone's feeling real good. Like the music's sick. It's loud and lights and it's just like sick. And I like starting paintings there, like when all those vibes are real high, and trying to just get that down. I feel like in an abstract painting, like you're almost done with the painting in the first couple motions,
Sure.
And you're just dialing
and then
it in.
then the rest of the time you're just trying to render out that like that feeling, or like that energy you were in when you started it. And so I think a lot of my flow paintings, a lot of my paintings just in general, I'm just trying to capture like that good vibe, that like or maybe not even good. I think good is like too broad, but I think everyone understands what I'm saying. Just trying to capture that moment.
Yeah, I feel it. Yeah.
And then spending weeks and months rendering that shitty, awful feeling by the time you're done with it. And you're like, got it.
Do you ever find that interesting, like finding the balance between that initial spark and then how far to finish it and like where that balance is?
Totally. That's another question I have trouble answering. It's like when people are like, "How do you know when it's finished?"
God, that's
And you're
the
like, "Oh man,
hardest
you wanna
question
talk
ever.
for a couple days." Like,
yeah. I think you just know.
yeah, when you look at it and you're
Yeah.
like, "It's good." Yeah,
You're like,
it's
do I
good.
feel good about this?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
or is there still?
Definitely over rendered before taking like
I have to.
squandered something, something beautiful, and you're like a month later, you're like, where what happened?
Yeah.
Where'd it go?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm learning to know when to finish, and I think living off of my art also kind of dictates a little bit of that. I can't work on something for a year.
Totally.
So I'm trying to get faster and learn like little shortcuts here and there, and that just comes with being in front of the canvas, just putting the time in. You'll learn little tricks and tips and ways to take like a 6-7 steps, then just compound that down to one, and still get the same idea across.
It's so fun as you unlock that. You become so free with your creativity.
Yeah, I see that with most successful artists. Like when they're young, it's all highly like it's what makes them noticed and like not famous, but well liked. And by the end of their career, if people hit it pretty big, like I think by the end of their career, they just kind of make a couple motions.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you get the idea. Like
They
next,
distill
like
it
here
down.
we go. Like
Yeah.
it's,
It is what it is. What
yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that. I like both sides to that. Like I love like. Used to like get me kind of like it was like daunting seeing these like hyper realism paintings or or even just like not even realism but like people like further collective guys like Oliver these people that push this like it just push it so far and you're like wow this is like I can grab this is
It's like
tangible
hyper surrealism.
and it used to be daunting. I'd look at this, I'd be like, oh man, I don't even have the time or like the skill or the energy. Like I just, and then I see the other side of it too, where it's like, I like kids drawings.
Yeah.
You ever like seen a kid draw who can't
It's
even
their
really
essence.
quite move his arm yet, and he's still just scribbling with crayons, and you're like, that's dope. Like,
I know.
yeah, so cool. So yeah, I don't know. Trying to find like somewhere in between there.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be the best, or I'm not trying to just like it's for more than just myself, but trying to find like a nice balance between the two things. So.
Sure.
You find like, art. Do you find art is the conduit for teaching you just how to be a person too, right? Like finding that balance.
Yeah. Not always. But it's
How to
funny,
be an
like
unperson.
I'm following a lot of other artists like journeys, and I've noticed like my brother's art, like man, like it's different. Like if you see his art like without him around, you're like, it's great, it's beautiful, it's like something I would buy and hang on my wall, and even as a creator, and he's my brother,
Yeah.
But then when you see it with him, and he can tell you about this little speck right here,
Yeah.
like what that happened, and like where that brought him back to, and like it's he like definitely he lives through his art. It's like this meditative, like crazy thing. I could talk about that for hours, but yeah, I think my art, like, I don't want it to define me, but I think it does. It like there's no real way to get around it. Like it's what I spend my time. It's what I love. It's like it's there's this term called ikigai. I think it's a Japanese term, but it's like I saw this crazy Venn diagram and everything circles around. It's like your vocation, like your life passion. There's like 4 things that all spiral around, and it's the word ikigai. And it's like kind of, if you can find that, like I think that's the secret. That's it. you know?
Yeah.
The center point of your being, where all these things overlap.
What's good for the world.
Oh, yes.
I should pull it up. There's like 4 things, and if like, like, I don't know. It's a Venn diagram. Can't really
It's like
show
what it's.
people.
I think it's like what you're good at, what the world needs, how you make money,
Yeah.
and then probably some other things.
Yeah, and it all spiral, and then there's all the little things in between the cracks. But the jewel of the whole thing is it's called Ikigai. So
Nice.
I think that's for me. That's what like my art is, and I am my art, and people know me as my art, and so I've been, yeah.
It's cool that you have a brother that's a working artist. Like you guys are both working artists.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's a trip.
So that's Bobby and Stephen Kruse.
Bobby episode 1.
You probably know
crushed
that.
episode. I listened to that the other day. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's younger than me. He's 2 years younger, but I look up to him in most ways. And I think being able to share, like, back in high school, like middle school, or just like little shit rat kids running around, like I didn't like everything I did. I played soccer. He played soccer, started skating, and then he was always like the tag along, like younger brother. I'm trying to find my way in the world, trying to figure out who I am, and I like didn't realize at the time, but like I am a part of him, and once I matured a little bit, I realized like how special that relationship was, to be able to share like pretty much everything I have with him, and be able to go as deep as you can go, with somebody. And like he's my blood brother, but I feel like through art I've found like lots and lots of brothers.
Yeah.
And people I can share and go as pretty deep with,
Yeah.
So,
That's something interesting, right? About like the art path, the path of the heart, and following what you feel drawn to do, is how many people you meet among the path that there's no diminishment to your blood family, but you love these people as much as you love your own family that you were born into.
Yeah, it doesn't take anything away from a candle by lighting another candle. And
Totally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think we all have like similar DNA in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have this like creator/artist DNA.
It's probably something that psychedelics turned on.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. I was gonna argue against that, but no. But yeah, I think that when you meet someone who's so like-minded, that it's just a vibe instantly. You're just like, oh yeah, okay, I understand you. You understand me.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really need to say a lot,
Oh yeah,
like
it's a feeling. Yeah.
not much of a talker. Like it's surprised you guys got me on this speaking into a microphone.
I mean,
thing. Like
I kind of am too.
But yeah, I think I like with my core group, we're all creators, so we speak through what we create.
Right.
And I think that's incredibly special. It's like great, like Instagram. Like I pull my phone out of my pocket, and people complain about like social media, like, oh, there's negativity, all this. Like, man, when I pulled out my phone, like,
if you're an artist,
what I see is from all over the world. All the people I know, people I don't know, people that are like at the head of their craft, people that are just starting, and I get to see like through a month, like I'd see you start and finish a painting, and maybe we don't talk for a month, but I see what you're going through. I see, it's like, it's pretty cool. Like, John, we're like, we've known each other for a couple of years now, but I knew your art before, I knew you before I actually met you, because I followed your art.
Totally.
Yeah, we knew each other. And then you meet each other, like, oh yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, what's good, dude?
Yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah. So I think that's really special. But yeah, having a brother, somebody I like, literally, he was like, there's pictures, like we're tiny little things, like, and to grow up and do life with somebody who's so absolutely close and invested into like very similar things is definitely one of the bigger blessings I can like give to. So
Absolutely.
It's funny how you have to get older and go through some shit to appreciate that kind of stuff.
Totally.
Yeah. Here's what I want to know. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. When are we going to see a Bobby and Steven collab?
Oh man, there's one right here actually.
Wait.
I'll pull it out. It's
okay.
Yeah. We've painted a few times together. What's kind of like funny to me is that me and Bobby don't really even talk about that. Like occasionally, like we'll start something or like have ideas for something, and I think I think it's just been pushed so long that like the first one that comes out, like, because people are gonna be like, oh shit, like, I think a lot of people have that same question.
Yeah.
And it's odd because I don't think Bobby and I have that question.
You guys haven't talked about it, you mean?
Not too much.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
To be honest. I've got a pretty large canvas that we started a couple of years back, and just never really got into it. And so
Sure.
I think it's just been pushed so long that I think the first one, it's gonna have to be like a pretty
Epic.
proper sized canvas and something we spend a lot of time on. And at this point, we can't just like thumb around on something and be like, hey, check it out, like we made this. And people be like, oh, like,
sometimes like the ones you're closest to, the more it's like you don't even want to fucking like that. You're like, all right, we gotta do it proper.
Thing going. Man, like if you ever get the chance to just like be around Bobby while he's painting and just like be able to talk to him, like I highly suggest that. Like it's he'll teach you what it means to like be a be.
No doubt.
And like I don't know. So there will be a day when we get down on something, but not that we haven't in the future. It's just I feel like at this point, like you got to be careful with like I don't know. Kind of brings up like a weird like question about collaboration and like I see a lot of my friends working together, and I think that's one of the most magical things you can do as an artist is be able to share that like incredibly personal, incredibly like vulnerable space with somebody else. And I work with Apex Collective, and it originally started as just like three dudes. We're sitting around and just trying to come up with a name for the thing we do every day. Like instead of like saying you want to go paint with like Steve, Jake, and Zach, like we could just be like, oh, the Apex Boys. Like, it was just a name for something we were doing, and it's grown up into this point. It's like kind of this big, we're still defining what it is, I feel like, but I think what it is at the core is just bringing together people that when working together can create something bigger than just themselves.
Absolutely.
And being able to facilitate that. I think one of our end goals with Apex is to have a space like kind of warehouse gallery, like we're still defining everything and working it all out, but I think the end goal is to have a space where we can bring in people from out of town that, if we see like this dude out in California is doing some crazy awesome stuff that would match so well with this guy out in Florida, like we can fly them into the space, and they have like kind of like hotel room type things, and then there's a big like collaborative workspace, and the front is a moving gallery, and then we can throw events there, like after hours events. And we're I think collaboration is key into the accelerated growth of like this creative monster that we are that we're becoming. So
I find that so beautiful. Like the overlap is, it seems like everybody we talk to's goal in the future is creating communal space and bringing together people. It's such an important part of health, of like feeling okay. Is being with like-minded beings and making something beautiful or fun together.
Totally. Like I have this beautiful studio, everything in its place, like everything I could ever need, but like I'll pack it all or just a little bit of it up most of the time, not everything I need, and just go, any given day I'd be at your studio or another friend's studio. And I think that's important just to keep the vibes fresh and to be able to interact in that creative way with creative minds.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah. I think that's the future in general, is like if this earth is to continue, we must come together and, actually have a community instead of living in these little suburban boxes.
Yeah, we tried being separated. It didn't work out too well.
No.
Well, yeah, at the core of everything, it's like a universal. We are like, it's a one thing.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
So do you have, like for your personal art career, do you have any like big, crazy projects or ideas in your mind of where you want to go, or are you just kind of following where it takes you?
Try not to plan too much. I think that's how you get let down.
Yeah.
Or having expectations, I guess. So I don't expect anything out of myself, but I want to continue to set myself up to explore this crazy path I've gone down. And I think there's a lot more to dive into. So I'm just going to kind of see where it goes. I'm excited to see.
Yeah.
People like I'll go out and like live painting and people are like, man, I can't wait to see where this goes. And my answer is always like, me too.
Yeah.
Right.
Me too, man.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So
A lot of times you just feel like a passenger, right? Watching this thing happen in front of you.
totally. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And somehow it keeps getting better and better in subtle ways.
Yeah. I'm going to knock on wood.
For that one, yeah.
Yeah.
Why not? And what I think is cool too is like bringing it back to the community aspect of like, okay, we sit down and have a conversation. We have this network of artists here. Is like, in a way, it's like we're all in it together, and to find those homies that are interested in what you're doing, and when you do things together, you can't fail.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like even if you personally have a failure, you're part of like a collective group of loving beings, and you always have open arms there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So like find the others and do your dope shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's key. Me and Jake Amison, Amazon, met up like kind of near the start of my Denver journey, and him and I were like so similar in our art styles and like thought patterns, and like I realized that was probably one of the most important things about my growth as an artist was having somebody there. Like we didn't live together at first, but we went through like 3 or 4 houses together, and like waking up every day and like, you know, you might be still up from the night before, still grinding, and I'm like, oh shit, I better get on it, or like,
Yeah.
you know, or like, just keeping each other motivated and having, you know, it's such a tough thing to like sit down and paint. Like painters would know what I'm saying. Like an outsider is like, oh, you got such a nice life, like, so you don't go to work.
Well, I think if an
it looks so
outsider
easy.
actually tried,
that's what I'm saying. When you
Yeah.
start to think about what it is, like it takes a lot to even just to get down and actually get into it.
Mm-hmm.
And having somebody who's like has the same goals and the same motivations and like is in the same like medium and style, to be able to work with them. Maybe you don't live with somebody like that, but like having somebody there that you can open up with all the time is probably helped me the most as an artist, like just growing exponentially.
Oh yeah.
Because as fast as I was working, I was seeing a whole nother thing going down next to me. It's like you're able to bounce like little tricks and tips off of each other, and there's kind of like that silent kind of like play, like, you know, I'm gonna work a little longer, like, you know, like it was
Friendly competition.
definitely, yeah, the most friendly. And yeah, I think if you can find somebody, that's maybe something I'll start telling people. It's like, find somebody else who's as motivated as you, and, you know, maybe you're not feeling that great that day, or you want to sit down and play a video game, or like, you know, like go eat a cheesesteak. I don't know, like, but you can help motivate each other to get in front of it and get after it. So
Totally. Yeah. Well,
okay, so one of the questions we tend to ask towards the end of the podcast is if you could give your younger self any advice. It seems like you've had a pretty serendipitous path to where you're at now. But maybe if you could, maybe besides passion and hard work, what would it be? What kind of advice would you drop on people?
I would just say you are what you're looking for, and you know it's up to you, man. You know, you either do it or don't do it, and do it one day, or, you know.
Yeah.
I would say trust in yourself, and yeah,
Right.
I think that's it. Yeah.
pretty perfect.
Yeah, it's spot on, dude.
So you have, you're working on your art show. Do you have any other events coming up soon?
Yeah. So actually, I got a busy month coming up. So I'll be doing I'll be live painting on stage with Spangle in
nice.
Kansas City. There's like it's like a big spectacle. There's a big show going down. So that'll be my first time in Kansas City.
KC.
It's November 27th, and then I'll be doing the same in Denver at the Fillmore with Spangle on the December 6th. And there's going to be, I just saw, there's like a group message I was in. There's like 20 or 30 artists, all amazing painters.
Wow.
So if you're debating on going, Spangle's amazing, but like go for the painters. There's going to be like some incredible work there. And then I'm going to St. Petersburg, Florida, shortly after that it's like a bog trotter, like, forget who, it's like detox unit. It's like this whole big thing. So I'll be down there. And then, after that, I'm going to turn my phone off and disappear for a couple months and try to get all these blank canvases we're surrounded by done for my show at Threda Gallery here in Denver.
Stay tuned, guys.
Which,
He's working
I highly suggest going down, not just for my show. Currently, my best buddy, best friend and creator, Jake Amison, has a solo show there that's just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It's like 20, 30 new pieces. There's like 15-foot paintings.
Mm-hmm.
It's also like this primetime gallery that my friend Peter Westerman with Threda happened to stumble upon, and it's just an amazing place to be, whether it's middle of the day, at nighttime. So I highly suggest checking Threda out.
Hell yeah. And shouts Jake and Pete for an awesome opening last Friday.
Yeah, I've never seen an art show. I didn't know art.
That was live as
fuck.
fuck.
Like, holy shit! I don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
I just.
So, and congratulations, the Denver, Colorado community for showing up big time for our boy Jake. And
I couldn't do it without you.
You couldn't even use the bathroom because you can't. It's like you can't even get in there.
It was packed.
You can't move. It was amazing.
Yeah,
it was incredible, and the art was great. So I have the bar set high. So that's what.
No pressure.
I'll be
so everybody come out in force in March for Steven's show at Threda.
Let's rage it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and sign off. Thank you guys for listening so much. Thank you, Steven, for being here.
Thank you, John,
speaking
Andrew,
to us.
for having me on.
Yeah, we love you, man.
Yeah, it was a blessing. Thank you guys.
Peace.
Peace.
Thank you all for listening. We love you.
We love you. Thanks for listening to another episode of Artsy AF Podcast.
For additional images and notes on this episode, you can check out our website, artsyafpodcast.com.
And you can find me, Andrew Norris, at andrew.norris.arts on Instagram, and andrewnorrisarts.com is my website. I also have links on my website to episodes as well as all my best paintings.
And you can find me, John Speaker. My website is johnspeaker.com. On Instagram, I'm at John Speaker, and on Facebook, John Speaker Art.
Thanks again for listening. Peace.
Thank you.